Hi, this is Greg in Pensacola, Florida. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to talk about the Dragonlock 3D Printable Dungeon Terrain and the Kickstarter that just finished up a little while ago. The Dragonlock Kickstarter was created by Fat Dragon Games. That's a company on the internet that's been doing paper terrain for a long time. I've seen some people down at a couple of our hobby shops that use this stuff, and it looks really nice. They have really good artwork and things like that. And if you remember a few videos ago, I talked about I was going to get a 3D printer. Well, this is the original time frame that I was looking at getting my printer. It was this Kickstarter that I saw online that just accelerated my purchase of the printer. So what they ran a successful campaign. I think they were looking for a pledge of $500? Yeah, the pledge goal was $500. And the final amount tallied was $104,426 over the course of this campaign. Now, if you think about that, you have to have a 3D printer to print the terrain. You're buying the files. You're not buying anything that's made. You're buying files so that you can print your terrain on your printer. What's great about this is that you can print as much terrain as you want in any configuration that you want. You're not locked into a box with X amount of corners, X amount of straight walls, X amount of floor sections. So for the cost, which looks like it's going to be about $10 a pack if you didn't do the Kickstarter, because the first two expansions are for sale. I mean, the core set and the first expansion are for sale right now. For $10, you have access to be able to create any dungeon terrain that you want. And so what I'm going to do really quick is just kind of skim through this Kickstarter page. We'll look at the initial core set. Like I said, the core set is what we're going to review in this video. And then I'm going to print out the stuff for expansion 1, and I'll show you the pieces for that. And I'll give you my opinion a little bit on here. You already know I like it because I've talked about it in other videos and held that piece up now for 3 videos in a row. This is really good stuff. This is revolutionary stuff when it comes to gaming terrain. Between this and the 3D and the printablescenery.com Kickstarter that just finished, I said I'm not buying another box set piece of terrain again. The stuff that's coming out right now, and people are finding, because there's a bunch of other people jumping on this 3D printable terrain bandwagon for Kickstarter. I know of at least 2 or 3 other companies that are getting ready to launch a product or launch a Kickstarter. Dragonlock is going to launch another Kickstarter later this year for, I believe it's the Village. They're going to do an entire town of modular printable terrain on there. And when you see the printable scenery stuff in another video, you'll see just how nice this stuff is for your tabletop RPG. So tonight we're going to talk about the Dragonlock. This is your dungeon terrain. I've never owned Dwarven Forge. I'm a Hirst guy, so I've never done the modular pieces like the Dwarven Forge, but I see what that stuff sells for in the Facebook RPG groups on there. It is insane how much money some of that stuff can go for. So I just never bought into that. I've always done the Hirst where I made my own stuff, but so we'll look at this on here. So if you look at the top, you'll see these are some painted samples that they have. This is the Kickstarter page right here. So if my tablet will decide to move. Here we go. Okay, so it's going to move. So here's a little bit larger picture. And, if you want to go to the campaign, if you go to Kickstarter and you just do a search on Dragonlock, this will pick this right up. There it is, $104,426 for people that are buying files that are not emailed to you. Download them through DriveThruRPG. So they talk about the project, and then we get down here, another picture of the starter set. And then right here, if you look, that box is pretty similar to this box, except I left a couple open walls on there because I was using this black filament, and this is where the end of my black filament roll came out because I had printed a bunch of other stuff. But here, it's these are all, right now, they're all 2x2 pieces. So it's going to be, 2 squares by 2 squares, on there. And so you can print the flat terrain in the middle, the wall sections. We can print the door. I'll show you the door. And then if you come down here, this shows the underside. This is how all this stuff is hooked together. It's hooked together with these clips. I don't know if you can see that. And you print the clips. So you don't have to buy the clips. When I initially did the Kickstarter, I was like, man, I'm going to have to buy 1,000 clips in the bag. Now, this is me talking before I got my printer. And then somebody asked, hey, do we buy the clips? Because if you look, their clips are a different color. You know, I wasn't thinking, it's like the, somebody else did terrain for Malifaux. I think it's Terran clips. And those clips, you have to buy the clips to put their product together. Well, it turns out now the files in each one of the packs that you download for printing the clips. And there's like 3 different types of clips, you know, depending on which printer you have. I used whatever the base set of the clip is, and it works pretty good. So on the underside of these pieces, my clips happen to be black, you'll see how it's hooked together. Now, I can't drop this off the table. You know, some of the clips may fall off the bottom and things like that. But for the most part, I mean, it's in my hand. I could put this in a box and take it to game night with no worries at all about it falling apart. And even if a piece does pop off, I just click it back down. It's not a big deal. And so right here, you know, they show multi-levels that you can stack these pieces on there. So they do have stairs in the initial set. So you can do, you know, the type of layouts that you want. If you just want to build an outside shell on there, then put this on top, you know, you can do that. Your imagination really is the limits. And the farther and the more expansion packs that are going to be released for this Dragonlock system, it's going to be fantastic. And we're going to show you those really quick. The door, it shows how it paints up. I painted a piece, I forget where it went. I think I took and left it somewhere, but I did paint a piece up. It takes paint just as good as anything else that I paint hobby-wise on there. I normally airbrush prime over the stuff with the Vallejo airbrush primer, and then from there, if it's a small piece, I'll use my model paints. If it's a larger piece and, you know, stuff like this, I'll use my craft paints. If it's a really large product, you know, like I do on my Hirst arts, I use Olympic outdoor paint because the dungeon colors don't change. If I'm going to print and paint 150 pieces of dungeon terrain that will initially be similar with the grays and the dry brush, then go back in and pick out some highlights with some craft or model paint, I'm going to paint down through that stuff. And that's house paint. On the Hirst arts, that is exterior house paint. It is not going to chip. It is way harder than any model paint you're going to buy to put on your stuff. So, and it's way cheaper in the long run. So we come down here, print as many as you like, print only what you need. They snap together. They're stackable. They're inexpensive. They're durable. I think if you watch my other videos, I tried to show you breaking this. You know, I put all my force into this piece right here, and it's not going to break. I've got way overkill for infill on this piece, but yeah, they're not going to go anywhere. They're digitally sculpted. And the artwork, they did a really, really good job with the artwork. I'm just starting to get into CAD. I've said before in my other videos, I am taking engineering graphics. You know, they don't teach you this in engineering graphics, but I've joined a club down there, the 5Ds Makers Club, where you have artists and things like that. So I'm hoping to be able to move into, to be able to construct some of my own custom pieces that will go in with the Hirst arts, with the Dragonlock, with the printablescenery.com and things like that. It's a really big, and my eyes got flown open. And some of the people that I've talked to that have watched these videos, you know, this is going to be a really new medium that's going to be really hot over the next couple of years. So this is what it looks like on your slicer. That's a Cura background it looks like on there, but you know, this, when you get ready to render, when your slicer gets ready to print, when you import the model, this is what it looks like in your slicing software. And then right here, this is your starter set. So this has all been released. This was delivered to the Kickstarter backers quick. I don't want to say a time frame, but maybe 3 weeks after it ended. It was ridiculous how quick. I was like, wow. You know, I'm part of some Kickstarters. I don't expect to receive the product for a year. You know, this Kickstarter finished. I turn right around. I get an email, says Drive-Thru-RPG's got my stuff. I already got an account there. I log in, I put my code in, and I download it. If anything gets revised, when I log into Drive-Thru-RPG, it's right there. I just re-download the files again. I don't, you know, the new version of the files, because the files have gone under a couple iterations. You know, with the first set, you're dealing with different slicing programs. You know, I use Simplify 3D. There's Cura, there's Slicer. You know, there's other proprietary slicing programs that go with specific printers out there. So, you know, there are a couple iterations. And if you go to the Fat Dragon forums for the Dragonlock stuff, there is a thread, a sticky thread that tells you what the current version, the most current version of each pack is. So we got just your standard 2x2 with the wall. You've got your standard door, and then you've got your narrow pillar. Corner pieces, you got two different types of walls. So you got a wall type 1, which is this wall right here. And then you've got a wall type 2, which is over here. And I'll see if I can grab the difference, because I could see the difference when I printed, but now I've stuck all this stuff together, so I'm going to have to really go look. The stairs and the 2x2 floor section. So that is what makes up the initial starter set of the Dragonlock. And so these have all been delivered. Expansion set 1. I'm going to have a separate video on this, but this has already been delivered too. I just started printing some of the pieces out for this. So we got crumbling walls and narrow corridors and things like that. Expansion set 2. We're going to have angled stairs, angled walls. Because I haven't done Dwarven Forge before, it seems like these angled wall pieces go for a fortune on there. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm going to find out when I start printing this stuff how useful those pieces are, because it seems like when somebody puts a box up of these for sale, they disappear instantly. So double doorways, alcoves, large 4x4 tiles. So if you need to print out a bunch of, cover some surface area really quick, these 4x4 tiles are going to be fantastic. And then a crumbling floor. Then we have expansion set 3. So we got pillars, and we got dungeon wells, archways. And so you see, then dungeon items. This was an add-on. So if I keep scrolling, keep expansion. So now we have our higher height walls on there. So these are, I don't know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks like about 3 layers higher than the walls I'm printing right now. So these are a higher wall. And so it's got all the pieces that match up with that too. So higher stairs, it's got some crenellations. The 100,000, thank you. They put the angles in there. That must be great. And then here's our add-on packs. So here's a cavern starter. So now we've got, cavern pieces also. I have molds to do this type of stuff in Hirst, but being able to print out this stuff too is going to be great. So this is still all the first add-on pack. Then we have hazards and traps. We're going to have a gelatinous cube. We're going to have bookshelves with different traps that you can put in there. Fountains, mushrooms. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the amount of stuff that you're going to get. Here's another expansion set. And I did the full Kickstarter on here, so I'm going to get all these. And as each set's released, I'll put up a separate video like I am tonight. Maybe not detailing the entire thing, like the big intro I'm doing now. They can come back to this video and watch this. But we'll go through each set, and I'll print a sample out so that you can see how it looks coming off my Maker Gear printer. Here they are printing that gelatinous cube and a transparent filament on it. This is an Ultimaker 2 that they're printing it on. And then... it just keeps on going. As I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, I forgot about half this stuff. These are stretch goal rewards now. So this is for hitting certain dollar levels during a Kickstarter. This stuff gets added in for free. So we got a crumbling 4x4 to go with the regular 4x4. So now we're getting different surface texture on the floor. And I can guarantee you, with the success of this Kickstarter, their next Kickstarter is going to blow up. When it hits out there, because more people are buying 3D printers, more people have figured out how to print this stuff, got their printers working. I've had a good 2.5, 3 months now with my printer. I'm printing some pretty nice stuff that's coming out on there. So printing the Dungeon Terrain right now is actually really simple. So printers are getting cheaper. There are great entry-level printers. You can start at the PrinterBot Play, which is an all-metal, which is a fantastic 4x4 inch printer, all the way up to the higher end, like the Maker Gear, the Ultimakers, the Taz printers, and everything in between. So whatever your price point and budget is, you can print this stuff right here. If you just want to do Dungeon Terrain, getting one of the more inexpensive printers is fine. If you want to do some bigger pieces and props and items like that, maybe a little bit bigger bed or a little bit more expensive printer will suit you better. The dungeon bridges, when you cast a bunch of Hirst art, you get these little boards on there, you build these, it's nice knowing that I can print this in plastic chuck it in my box for a game night, I'm not going to worry about a piece snapping off, because thinner pieces in plaster they do get fragile. And so I'm just scrolling. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. And I've forgotten about half the stuff down here by now. Really, I didn't even realize the broken wooden door was even part of it at this point on there. So that was the campaign. So now just let me move over. Yeah. So here's some of the individual pieces. This is like a 2x2 right here. And if you see it, maybe it'll focus on there. This is printed at 100 micron. I know the black pieces I printed with a crazy amount of infill. That's probably 30% infill. I think I print the pieces now. I printed them at 0. You can kind of flex the walls a little bit with your finger if you push. I just drop, like 7 to 10% infill on there, and they're rock solid. Like this door right here, you cannot break these stairs on there. You can't do it, So this is terrain that's going to go with you to a game store, to a convention, in the back of your car, traveling halfway across the country, and you ain't got to worry about it busting up. You might chip some paint on it, but big deal, you just paint it up again. So on the bottom of here, you'll see those hooks. Let's see if I can keep it on the screen. You'll see the little indentations that are right there, and that's where these go in. They just sit down in there, and you can kind of feel it when you mess around with it some. You'll feel that it's caught in that hook. And then you grab your other piece and you lay it on there, and it just snaps down in. And it shouldn't fall apart like that. There we go. You'll start feeling how they click together on there. Yeah, so these tabs are the black tabs that I've done in the original tabs, but now, we're back to, it's right on together. So now we've got the pillar down here at the end, and I'm going to unzoom the camera a little bit here. Here we go. So this is a 2x2 with a single pillar. And so that piece is right down there on the bottom. All right, so some of the bigger pieces. These are pieces that I've already put together. The door itself, you can take the top off the door, and then here's your door. And you can have it swing either way. So that's just a regular door piece that sits down in there. This is a 2x2 with the door handle. So that prints, and then you print the top, and then you print both halves of the door and glue them together. So... And then I could take and put the door right back down in here, and then I would put this. You'll see the holes on the bottom, so it'll receive the door. So you can do that configuration. This here I've changed. This is when I got some different. When I started messing around with the silver filament, because nobody seems to have gray. But I really like this silver filament. This is what I'm going to be printing the pieces in from now on. So this is a larger piece. It's got both types of doors on there. Again, here's the clips on the bottom that are holding it all together. If I shake really hard, it'll come apart. But, for the most part, I can sit there and, I can take that one piece off that side. I don't know why I would do this, but, I can put that one there, and then I can start extending off this way, So there's the pieces, even with the different filament, they fit together again fine. So What's nice with this terrain, outside of it being portable, cheap to print, I mean, we're talking 30 cents a piece. When you go look at some of those big kits of this stuff, and it's really expensive. That's just a raw filament cost. You have the electric cost in there, but I'm going to be honest with you. You don't care what the electric cost is. When you're printing this stuff out and you see it coming up on the printer, you're like, yeah, that's awesome stuff. Now, if you've been with the channel a while, I do Hirst arts. For the people that are here that are new, this is Hirst arts. So what you're looking at here, this is a field stone. This is dental plaster. This is Merlin's Magic dental plaster that I cast everything in. And you have molds, and you cast it, and you let it dry, and I put it through a dehydrator, and it gets done, and I assemble it, and you paint it, and this stuff is like art. There, if you're a fan of Hirst Arts and not part of the Facebook Hirst Arts group, go join it. It's called Fans of Hirst Arts. The stuff is phenomenal. There are some people in there that will make, it's beautiful. It is truly works of art. So the pieces, these are all cast out of dental plaster. This chest of drawers is also cast. And then I've got this bookshelf and stuff down here. I'll flip it around in a minute. But, so this right here is a Hirst Arts piece. This probably weighs about a pound and a half, and it is plaster. If I do drop this on the floor, it is going to break, chip, crack. I can guarantee that some part of this will have to be repaired or fixed. And it is heavy on there. So this right here, this stuff will never go away from my collection. It is beautiful stuff. But if I'm traveling, if I'm going out to a con, somebody's chucking dice, you just don't want them bouncing dice off into your stuff. You've got a bunch of adults, friends of you that game with that appreciate what goes into this, and even appreciates what goes into this, because you're just not going to completely throw this stuff around either. That's where this Dragonlock stuff comes in, because it's cheap. You can go and you can set it up. These pieces here, you can make this stuff modular too. You can do that with this. The thing is, you're going to print out each individual 1-inch square, and then you're going to build the walls on it. So a lot of how your finished dungeon is going to look is going to depend on how well you're casting your product. This, on the other hand, as long as your printer is set up okay, it's going to print the right 45-degree angles. And here's the difference. People will do modular terrain in this. I can't hook it together. I may be able to put a box and put a room in a box, but I can't take and pick up this box and just take it with me. I can't take this room for the encounter tonight, put it in my car, and just be ready to go. There is setup time. There's setup time with any game on there, but it's just, there's pros and cons of each one. What's nice though is that all this stuff works in here. So I can put, this may be some bad guy's evil, and of course I'll put that right off camera. Layer, we'll put a little chest over here, and then here's your minis. This is our Hirst Arts little ghoul that, just appears up in all the stuff that I do. So you have plenty of room. I mean, you throw a couple decorations, they go back and forth, your accessories that you can itemize your dungeons with and stuff like that. So it's not like you have to do one or the other. It just complements each other. The heights on the walls are just a little bit different. I'm using a 1/4-inch foam core is what I use to base my product with. But if you look how close they are, 1/8 of an inch difference on the lower part of the wall, and we're going to have higher walls too that would also match up with this. So you could do a combination. One thing I've seen already is that this stuff with Hirst Arts, they use pillars to do elevations. It works, but it's a little rickety. Being able to print out a square like this so that this can sit on top of it on a dungeon, and then you put your ladder that you built up there, that is going to be way better. It's going to increase the strength underneath these Hirst Arts pieces while still giving you the ability to print more of the stuff and then use it how you want. So to me, this stuff is going to be mixed and matched all through the dungeons. And as more companies come out and I buy more of them, which I hope we get tons of people on the market, because then we get this great variety of stonework, between plasters and the 3D printed stuff and things like that. And it kills me because I sat there and said, okay, I'm going to make this video 15 minutes long, and I've just rambled on for about 25 minutes. But Dragonlock, this stuff is fantastic. It looks fantastic. It prints fantastic. The speed at which they're developing the stuff and getting it out to their backers has been tremendous. It's high quality stuff. The pieces print really well, and they print well from the low-end printers to the high-end printers. Some pieces take a while to print. There's no doubt. A corner takes a long time to print because you're printing a 2x2 base and 2 walls all the way up. So there is a lot of detail. It's a lot of deep detail in these pieces. So if you get up there and look, this is really, you know, the detail in the pieces, you know. So you can print whatever color filament you want on there. It doesn't matter, you know. So you can paint it, prime it. I'm sure some people will print it just like this and just use different color filaments for different types of rooms. I'm going to end up painting this stuff up when it gets done, because I need to think out what type of dungeon we'll do. And so as stuff gets released, I'm just going to do the single prints of each piece to review. But at the end, we're going to crank out a nice big dungeon. So we're going to hook this up with the inn. And if you haven't seen my inn videos, go check them out. They're on my channel. You'll see I start from the beginning, where this is just nothing but powder in a pail, and we end up with 10, 11 rooms of this inn. So go check out those videos if you're here, if you're a 3D person and you're here, because there's, you know, there may be another side of this hobby you might want to get into too, because this is a lot of fun. But I appreciate you hanging in there tonight. Dragonlock core set, go buy it. It's $9.99 on their website. If you have a 3D printer, download it. The expansion set is also there for $10. Go get it, download it. You won't be disappointed. Thanks again. Thanks for the new subscribers. Like the video if you like it. Share it with your buddies. And I'll see you soon with another one. Thanks.